We are now live.
I'd like to call to order the Village of Huntley Board Meeting Thursday, July 25th, 2024 to order at 7 p.m. Roll call, please.
Trustee Benigno,
Present.
Trustee Goldman,
Here.
Trustee Pivko,
Present.
Trustee Westberg,
Here.
Trustee Zadorowicz,
Here.
Village President Huff.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite forward the Huntley High School girls track team to lead us in the pledge.
That'll fill the room too.
Item 4, public comments. Nobody signed up. So we'll move right along to item number 5, which is our special presentation to the Huntley High School girls track team. They were the 2024 state runner-ups. So with that, I've got certificates for each of you, so I will read your name and try not to butcher them as much as possible. And you can come up and get your certificate, and then the coaches will have something to say, and we'll go from there. So with that being said, I'll read one, and then I'll just do the names. So the Village of Huntley Board of Trustees congratulate and acknowledge the Huntley High School girls track and field team IHSA 3A girls state track and field runner-up. The Village Board is pleased to recognize and congratulate you, your team, and your coaches for winning the IHSA Class 3A team runner-up title at the girls track and field state meet. The team's dedication to greatness is exemplified by each athlete in the program. Congratulations, dated this 25th day of July, 2024. Coach Ezek. Actually, my voice will carry loud now. Coach Garza. Coach Gallagher. Coach Boring. Johnson. Sienna Robertson. Denise Johnson. Sophie Hammond. Emmy Byers. Haley Sands. Vicky. I'm not gonna. Axel. All right. Andy Busman. Deanna Howard. Nina Fetzer. Morgan Sauber.
obviously, these are state representatives that represented us well at state meets. Last year, state champs, and this year, state runner-up. A lot of these girls were there for both seasons, and a big reason for what we accomplished over those 2 years. Obviously, we had aspirations of going back and winning them back to back. And it was awesome to see from the very, very beginning of our season, when we started our off-season workouts, these girls were 100% bought in and trying to repeat from the get-go. But that didn't happen, but that's not going to take away from what we did accomplish. I think it's it's spectacular of what these girls have done to bring home 2 state trophies in back-to-back years, and we are extremely proud of what they've accomplished as a team. He just recognized our state qualifiers. I'm gonna go over a couple of our state medalists, and I do wanna mention that some of the girls that weren't here tonight, they are actually competing in the USA Track and Field Junior Olympics right now in Texas. So I think that they have some big things in mind for next year as well. But I do wanna recognize state medalists first, and then I'll turn it back over to the village. Sienna Robertson, who is not with us tonight, took 5th place in the discus after finishing, I think 10th last year. 5th place finish this year was pretty awesome. Dominique Johnson, she's got some state titles, but in this one, she just keeps moving up the ladder slowly. Each year she goes higher and higher and medals a little bit higher, places a little bit higher in the long jump. This year, her finish in the long jump was 3rd place. And one more medal that I'm going to recognize, and this one was pretty awesome. I am going to give you the backstory on this. Some of you have heard this many times. Some of you have never heard it, so I do want to share it. Sophie Amin was with us for our state run last year. But unfortunately at sectionals, she suffered a dislocation of her foot. And to come back from that in 1 year and to be back on the track when we weren't sure if she would ever be back on the track, was pretty special to see her finish runner-up this year in the 100 hurdles. Thank you. We're going to turn it back over to the village.
All right. So now for state champions, we've got the individual signs that Jason's gonna bring over. So we got Dominique Johnson for the triple jump in 23 and 24. Congratulations. The 4x100 meter relay, Sophie Emmon, Emmy Byers, Kaylee Sands, and Vicky, and I don't want to butcher it again, so how do I? It's Vicky.
Evtimov.
Okay, Evtimov, and they were state champions, 7th fastest time in state meet history, so congratulations. And the 4x200 meter relay, we got Dominique Johnson, Emmy Byers, Kaylee Sands, Vicky Evtimov, and they're state champions, 3rd fastest time in state history, so congratulations for that. And, I gotta make sure I don't screw this up. Do you guys already have your big sign? Or is that theirs to take? So, we got another one, okay. So, there's your sign for the
Okay.
team.
All right.
And like I said, I don't want to screw it up, so.
No, that's awesome.
No, that's your guys' congratulations. It's a great accomplishment for the whole village, and all of our communities that go to Huntley High School, even though I know it's more than just Huntley, but
Right.
it's really nice, so.
No, we appreciate it.
Congratulations, keep up the good work, and hope to see you back next year with the championship.
That's the plan. Thank you. Appreciate it. Can we literally take that one with us?
You guys have the same press group go down behind her for a picture. So if you could go and the board wants to go down there, however. You can. Yep.
When I taught high school, before I got promoted to supervise high schools, I taught at Roberto Clemente in Home Park, all Puerto Rican kids. 3,000 of them. There was a faculty of over 100. There's still 50 of us who get together every August.
Nice.
Yeah, and you know what? Some are in their 90s, some are in their 70s. We're meeting at Moretti's in Morton Grove. People live everywhere. That's kind of a central point. That is so exciting. Do you know how much we cry when we see each other?
I bet.
Yeah. There's nothing like teaching high school. I love it. This girl right here, Johnson girl,
Yeah.
her sister was
Yeah, we
famous,
lost the third.
Dominique, and I think she went to college on a scholarship too.
She did. Yeah.
I see, you know. Why am I
forget-
telling you,
I'm
preaching
trying
the
to
choir?
remember what school she's running at, but yeah.
Yeah. I thought someday she'd head to the Olympics.
Maybe,
Yeah,
and then, not this year, next,
yeah,
4 years.
yeah, Salt Lake City.
I know.
Oh, and wait, and then Paris.
Yeah.
Four.
Coming out of the woodwork.
All right, are we good? That's fine, we got more coming in. All right, moving right along, we'll go to item 6. Administration of the oath of office for Sergeant Theo Calazantes and Deputy Chief Kevin Keene. Dave Johnson, take it away.
I'm going to turn it over to Chief Hooten, and then we will do the official swearing in.
Thank you, Mayor and Dave. Welcome everyone tonight to this exciting evening for these two incredible men that are being promoted tonight. The first one is Sergeant Theo Calancis. Everyone knows him as Theo, so that's what I'm going to call him throughout. Theo Calancis has been employed by the Huntley Police Department since January of 2001. Prior to his promotion, Theo served as a field training officer, officer in charge bike patrol officer, juvenile officer, truck enforcement officer, union representative, and detective. While in the investigations division, he was an active member of the McHenry County Investigative Assistance Team, known as MEAT, and is a state-certified homicide investigator. Throughout his career, he has often received recognition for his dedication and professionalism, serving the residents of Huntley as well as other communities throughout MEAT. In 2015, Theo was one of the first officers assigned to the new community response team. While in CRT, Theo received a letter of commendation for his efforts in establishing the now annual Bike Huntley event. He was one of the first officers to complete crisis intervention training, helping to establish the program within Huntley. Theo serves as the Emergency Vehicle Operations Course instructor for the department, and if anyone knows Theo, that's very fitting. Theo's work ethic and dedication to this profession is second to none. He always says, "This job is easy. Why do people make it so hard?" And for him, that is true. Becoming a police officer comes naturally to him, and it is seen in his interactions with everyone he meets. He has the ability to get a confession out of anyone, get people to comply when they don't want to, and finds unique ways to help people. He continuously goes above and beyond for our residents, but to him, he's just doing his job. Theo has a sixth sense when it comes to action calls and where they're at, and often finds himself right there. We have another name for that, but I can't say it on live YouTube. He wants to be involved in calls to help other officers, and that trait will serve him well as a sergeant. In his new role, he will be an asset to help guide and develop officers because he knows what it takes to be a leader. He is willing to do the work he will be asking of them. I ask him to continue to make sound decisions and keep a positive mindset, knowing that others are looking up to you. I'm extremely proud of you and everything you have accomplished in your career, and I know you will be an influential sergeant. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank his wife, Sam, and their 4 boys, Mitchie, Teddy, Ronnie, and Billy, for their love and support and keeping him on his toes. Even though he's going to nights, we all hope that we still get visits from the boys and Sam, and we'll keep the candy jar full. All of his hard work has paid off. Congratulations on your promotion.
Having been appointed to. I, Theo Clancis, have been appointed to. The office of Police Sergeant of the Village of Huntley. The office of Police Sergeant of the Village of Huntley. In the counties of Kane and McHenry. In the counties of Kane and McHenry. In the state of Illinois, and solemnly swear. In the state of Illinois, and solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States of America. That I will support the Constitution of the United States of America. And the Constitution of the state of Illinois. And the Constitution of the state of Illinois. That I will faithfully discharge the duties. And I will faithfully discharge the duties. Of the office of Police Sergeant. Of the office of Police Sergeant. To the best of my ability. To the best of my ability.
Well, I'm very surprised they gave me an open mic to the World Wide Web here, but I assure everybody my speech has been written and proofed, read several times, so we'll be okay. I'd like to start by thanking the mayor, the board members, the board of trustees and the village manager for their continued support of me and our entire department. It's not exactly easy being a police officer at in these times. We're lucky to have a community and a village leadership that is always backing us. To my lovely wife and the rest of my family, it's often a challenge having a police officer in the family, especially me. But you guys are always there behind me, making it possible to do this job. Chief Linda, Amy, and Kevin, and the rest of the command staff, thank you for believing in me, encouraging me, and mostly putting up with me. It's been a long journey to get to this point. I appreciate the example you've all set for me and the rest of the department. When I started here almost 24 years ago, the village population was just over 7,000. Route 47 was relatively a quiet 2-lane road. I literally had to herd cows that wandered onto the road. I never expected I would make a career here in the small village of Huntley. I certainly never thought I would be promoted here. I always thought that promotions happened to grown-ups, and I guess I thought I would never grow up. I never thought I would be old enough to get married and have kids, and yet here I am. Got a great wife, 4 awesome boys, and I drive a cool minivan. A lot has changed. I am certainly proud of the community that we serve and has evolved in the police department I get to be part of. When I was a kid, I met some officers who set the standard for what it means to serve and protect. You can, serve and protect, hold on a second, I lost my spot here, hold on, sorry. I made this double space and large print so I can see. I didn't want to wear my glasses. And how you can use a badge to help people in a positive way in their lives. I also wanted to thank, there's a couple people here that were now retired, but helped me along the way. I won't name you out loud, Tom or Mark back there, but just to set a timeline, that was 31 years ago we met, when you helped me along and set me on the right path, because God knows where I would have been if that wasn't for you guys. I've tried to live up to those examples you guys have set throughout my career. As a supervisor, I will retain that focus in our department and ensure that our next generation of officers remember the responsibility and the privileges to wear this badge. Thank you. That is all.
For our next one, Deputy Chief Kevin Keene has been employed with the Huntley Police Department since December 17th, 2001. Him and I share that date together. Kevin Keene has served as a patrol officer, evidence technician, field training officer, officer in charge, and detective. While in the investigative division, he was assigned to the McHenry County Major Investigation Assistance Team, the Kane County Accident Reconstruction Team, and is a state-certified traffic crash reconstructionist. He has served as the union president from 2005 to 2016 and was previously nominated for the Kane County Officer of the Year Award. Kevin was promoted to the rank of sergeant in 2016, where he served as a patrol sergeant and the support service sergeant. He has led many project implementations for the department, including the drone program, digital evidence storage, body-worn cameras, and automatic license plate readers. He also teaches law enforcement throughout the county as a national instructor for open source investigations. He has received a Master's of Arts in Organizational Leadership from Judson University and a Bachelor of Arts in Management from Benedictine University. He is also a graduate of the Northwestern School of Police Staff and Command, Class 507. Kevin has spent his career leading with integrity, professionalism, and compassion. He has always done the right thing for the right reasons and has led by example. These traits are what will make him a great deputy chief. Kevin and I talked a few weeks ago about the life of a deputy chief. I told him there would be days he wouldn't feel much like the police in the way he used to. His response and perspective to this conversation of being a leader in a leadership role is exactly what we need to excel. He told me he is looking forward to seeing officers succeed and being involved in that process. He wants to be part of the decisions and changes in our agency that will take us to the next level. I have no doubt that you will oversee patrol with consistency and fairness. You will foster a culture within patrol to motivate, develop, and provide guidance so we continue to provide the police services our community needs and deserves. I am excited and proud to have Kevin Keene join the command staff. I'd also like to recognize his family, Nikki and his son, Marcus. Dana couldn't be here, but is here in spirit. And the sacrifices that you guys have made along the way to allow him to do his job. I apologize in advance for the amount of phone calls he will soon be receiving on a regular basis, but it is well-deserved, Kevin. Congratulations on your promotion.
to the office of Deputy Chief of Police for the Village of Nutley in the counties of Kane and McHenry in the counties of Kane and McHenry in the state of Illinois, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Deputy Chief of Police to the best of my ability.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored and humbled to stand here before you as the newly appointed Deputy Chief of Police. This moment is a milestone in my career, and I am incredibly grateful for the trust and confidence placed in me by Chief Hooten. First and foremost, I want to extend my gratitude to Mayor Hoft, the Village Board, Village Manager Dave Johnson, and the rest of the village staff for the support you have given me and our police department over the years. I also want to acknowledge and thank my family, friends, and mentors who have supported me throughout my career. Your encouragement and guidance have been instrumental in my personal and professional growth. I share this achievement with all of you. To the men and women of our police department, I am honored to help lead our team. Your commitment to protecting and serving our community is truly commendable. Together, we will continue to uphold the highest standards of integrity and professionalism in our work. I look forward with each of you to build on our strengths and address any challenges that we face. Community engagement and trust are the cornerstone of effective policing. As Deputy Chief, I am committed to continuing to foster strong relationships between our department and the community that we serve. Thank you once again for this honor. I'm excited about the journey ahead and confident that together we can continue to provide the gold standard of service. Thank you very much.
You guys all gonna stick around for once?
And now the room is clear. Yeah, Sergeant Ewan, his hair is totally white. I think he's got 4 already, popping 1 a year, and she wants another one. He'll work until he's 90.
Yeah, he will.
And he's not young.
Oh, wait, the one with the white hair? I'm not gonna keep people out.
It's not even in their subdivision.
They don't like the way it
God,
looks.
I'm cold. So which group is the hospital and which group is?
This is the hospital.
From what Dave told me.
How do you know all this stuff?
I heard them just a few minutes ago.
Oh.
Dave said that.
I was impressed for 1 second.
Then don't go. Whatever's in there, don't use it. Don't support it.
And the other group should be here
That's, I
then
was just
too.
wondering where the Lions Chase people are.
The one by Lions Chase.
There's a bald, tall guy in the back. I think is probably part of that group.
Downtown concerts. And guys were saying about it. Why do we have them? It's not working. We should make the park. Because there's a lot more room now.
Notice.
Maybe physically.
His wife,
People wise.
she's out there talking to everybody now too.
Oh, yeah.
Parking.
They started going to the Legion and hanging out.
You and I are gonna make sure that Tim wins.
Agreed. Fake town. To Jasonville, you don't even live here.
I told you guys in the hall you'd all have seats, so I didn't lie. I knew it'd just take a little bit. All right, moving right along. We got our consent agenda, item number 7. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the village board and may be approved and accepted by one motion with a roll call vote. If further discussion is needed, any member of the board may request that an item be moved off consent agenda to items for discussion and consideration. That we've got 7.1. Approval of the July 25th, 2024 bill list in the amount of $637,508.16. Item 7.2, approval of the July 11th, 2024 village board meeting minutes. Item 7.3 is a resolution renewing the contract with Langdon Group for roadway snow and ice control services for year 6 in the guaranteed minimum amount of $85,321. 7.4 is a resolution renewing the contract with Langdon Group for cul-de-sac snow and ice control services for year 6. 7.5 is a resolution approving the year 2 bid award to Langdon Group for the downtown snow and ice control service base bid contract and alternative bids 1, the municipal complex, and 2, parking lot and drive aisle sidewalk Coral Street in the amount of $110,820. Item 7.6 is authorization to commence construction of the Huntley Gateway Stein at southeast corner of Route 47 and Freeman Road. That's all we've got for consent. If there's anything that need to be moved, anybody got questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none?
Motion to approve.
Motion.
So moved.
I heard we got trustee Benigno. Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Zurowitz. Roll call, please.
Trustee Benigno,
Aye.
Trustee Goldman,
Yes,
Trustee Zadorowitz,
Yes.
Trustee Westberg,
Aye.
Trustee Pivko.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 8, items for discussion and consideration. If you are part of the team for 8.1 and you would like to come up to the table, that'd be great, or the podium if you're gonna talk. Either way, just make sure you use the microphone so everybody can hear you. And that is a conceptual review for proposed site plan and building elevations for Northwestern Medicine Huntley Hospital Medical Office Building 3, located at 10400 Halligus Road. Charlie?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to be very brief this evening. The Northwestern team does have a presentation which has more detailed exhibits than I have within my presentation. So very briefly, you see the location of the proposed medical office building 3 on the screen in yellow. The other aspect of this project is the new parking lot, which you see the rectangle in blue to the north of the existing parking lot. Again, they're proposing a 77,000 square foot building. This is approximately a $95 million investment, and they do anticipate 300 additional employees as a result of the project. Parking, as I noted, they are adding 394 parking spaces, which does account for some of the spaces that are being lost. The medical office building 3 is being constructed in an area that's informally known as the doctor's parking lot. So those parking spaces are being shifted to the north, and they do have a parking study, which they will discuss in a little detail. We have requested that is submitted with their formal development application, so staff can review it and the board can see it as part of that formal application. But in terms of the required parking on the site with the new medical office building, there would be 1,876 parking spaces approximately required. Their plan provides approximately 1,673 parking spaces, so they would require relief or land bank parking based on what they're providing on the site. Again, they've got a parking study to justify what they're proposing. And I will note then the parking spaces are proposed at 9 by 19, which is the existing parking stall dimensions utilized on the site. They're requesting to continue that for the new parking spaces being constructed to the north. Again, these new parking spaces will be utilized for staff, staff coming in the morning, leaving in the evening, not customers coming in and out throughout the day or patients coming in and out throughout the day. I will breeze through these. They've got elevations and renderings to show you. And I will remind you, this is a concept review tonight. When they do return with a formal application, they will be requesting final planned unit development. In terms of tonight, this is a courtesy review. This is an opportunity for the village board to provide any questions, comments, or concerns for the petitioner to consider should they proceed through the formal review process. So with that, Mayor, I'll turn it back to you, and I do know Northwestern's team has a presentation they'd like to walk through.
Thank you, Charlie. If you guys like to do your presentation, then we'll go through board comments after that if we've got some questions or concerns. So thank you.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Mayor and members of the board. My name is Hart Passman. I'm a partner with the law firm of Elrod Friedman. Very, very happy and excited to be here tonight. I want to thank you for your time to present to you our concept plan for the Medical Office Building 3 at Huntley Hospital. We have a brief presentation. We've got our team here to walk through what we have in mind. And as I know you know, but we are very much looking forward to your feedback so that we can keep moving forward. Before I say anything more, I do want to thank the village staff and village council for their guidance with us over the course of several months in getting us to this point. It's been very, very helpful. We appreciate all that they've done to assist us. Wrong button there. Sorry. Roll it up. Roll it up. Oh, there we go. Okay, so very quickly, we'll talk about our project. We will discuss the parking issues that Charlie alluded to, and then certainly elicit your feedback. So for our team here today, first we have Sunwoo Kim, who's the project manager on staff with Northwestern Medicine. We'll then turn it over to Rob Deering from Perkins & Will. They're the project architects. And finally, Justin Opitz of Kimley Horn. They are a traffic and parking consultant. So I'll first turn it over to Mr. Kim. Thank you.
Thank you. So good evening. So why MOB3 in Huntley campus? There are a couple of reasons. First being the village of Huntley is growing. So new MOB3 would support the expanding of community access to healthcare, including cancer care. Second being the demand for ambulatory space in existing Huntley campus is increasing. So with regard, this MOB is necessary to reduce patient wait time and accommodate increase in patient volume. And from there, MOB3 would allow us to relocate some program out of existing hospital. Then we can provide higher acuity program to support inpatient services. And lastly, MOB3 include comprehensive oncology program to bring the service in Huntley community. Having cancer care close to home will not only improve patient well-being outcomes, but also save patients travel time and expense for traveling. So these are the reasons why we have MOB3 in Huntley campus. Now I will turn it over to Rob to go over project detail. So Rob.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rob Deering. I'm with Perkins & Will, and I will be doing the project overview. So as you see on the screen here, as Charlie had alluded to, there are two different parts of the project. The building that's being proposed, which is in the number 4, this is taking place of an existing staff parking lot. And then the number 6 up top here is where the north parking lot, where that parking will be reallocated, and additional parking will be added. This diagram here shows the different components of the site. Number 1 being the fire access lane that we're maintaining so you can continue the fire access to MOB2. The patient staff garden that you'll see, number 2, creates a beautiful healing garden that you'll see that we have incorporated into our infusion suites. It's part of a concept too that we are trying to use that's called biophilic design, that we've had studies that have shown that connecting to nature can not only help reduce recovery times, but also improve healing. Number 3 is the turnaround access point and the main entrance to the building. Number 4, down to that the lower left-hand corner, is where the connection would be to the pedestrian walkway. This is an enclosed area that would connect staff between the hospital to the MOB3. Number 5 is where patient parking would be located directly to the east of the building. And then number 6 is where medical transport, so ambulance if needed, parking would be. Number 7 is the secondary access point. And then number 8 is our back of house trash enclosure. And number 9 is the emergency generators. The building it's a 2-story building with a simple stacking diagram here that you're seeing. On the first floor, we have oncology infusion. Like I had mentioned, we'll open up and have beautiful views into this healing garden. And then we also have a support pharmacy that goes with it. There is a radiation oncology and a cardiodiagnosis on the first floor. On the second floor is surgical specialties, BCVI clinics or cardiovascular, medical oncology, and surgical services. We'll look at the elevations, and then we also have some renderings which might kind of depict the building a little bit better. But the design it's a subtle but strong design that is a timeless expression that reacts and responds to the existing campus. And when I get to the renderings, you'll see different elements that we've kind of reacted to with the different buildings. Here you're seeing, or actually I'll just go right into the elevation. This is probably a little easier to understand here. We're looking right here at the northwest. This is the main entrance to the building. You'll see that these bubbles that you'll see calling up to the areas are areas that we took inspiration from the surrounding buildings, MOB1, MOB2. As you're seeing here up in the upper left, that's referencing the ribbon windows, so those expansive windows that are going horizontal, creating these really long, expansive views out to nature and bringing in lots of daylight into the space. This is a reference to the MOB2 top part of the windows. The material palette is a very simple palette too that blends in with MOB2. It'll be using pretty much the same metal panel that is expressed within MOB2 and a similar brick pattern. This is the view within that garden. It'll be a nice lush healing garden that will really connect the patients and the staff and everyone back to nature as much as we can. Every time you're looking out, you'll see beautiful, beautiful interactions with nature. There's also some subtle brick detailing that you're seeing, kind of that corduroy pattern within the brick. This is also in reference to MOB2. And then you can see in the distance there's the building connector, the pedestrian walkway. This again will blend in to the existing pedestrian walkway that is connecting the hospital to MOB2. Now if we jump to the east side, this is where, along this side is where all the public waiting areas. So we're trying to create this place of welcoming and beautiful expansive views out onto Tom's Farm. The reference there up in the upper left is referencing MOB1, showing how the existing architecture of that building had glass that went up and created a glass parapet. So we had these kind of glass reveals that kind of try to respond and react to that MOB1. There's also a large overhang, again, reacting to MOB1, that creates this, it's a dual function, not only calling out the entrance, but also creating a canopy for the front. This is the last of the renderings here. This is looking at the back. And again, you can see that expression of that kind of corduroy pattern, not only on the east facade, but then also on that massing in the back, which is our LINAC, or linear accelerated for for high concentrated X-ray imaging for cancer studies, or cancer treatment, I'm sorry. Up above then too is some punch windows that also respond to the neighbor building's MOB2. I'm gonna kick it off to the parking. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Justin Opitz. I'm with Kimley Horn, and we led the parking analysis for the new MOB3 building. So I'll be stepping through our approach and kind of how we came up with our parking demand number for the new building, as well as an overview of the actual north lot itself. So before we dive in, just a quick overview of the campus again, and then some background on how we actually conducted our study. So you guys are obviously all very familiar with the site. The main hospital building at number 1 in the middle. We have Algonquin Road at the bottom or south part of your screen running east-west, Halagus Road on the west side running north-south, and then Reed Road to the north. We see the new building at number 4 and the new parking lot at number 6 at the north part of the site. So with this parking study, we really took a full campus approach. So for our parking analysis, we looked at every single space on the site. We were out in the fall of 2023, so last year, basically surveying the parking for a full day, starting from, I think, 6 in the morning we were out there all the way till around 6 at night. And when we're analyzing parking for a hospital, one thing that's really important to look at is the demand in each kind of parking area, so each lot, as well as the user group, so who's actually parking in those lots. So when we were out there, what we did was we basically made these little placards that we would hand to every car, every person that was entering the hospital, and they would, they would tell us what they were there for, whether it was a physician, a patient or a visitor, a employee, or a fitness center attendee. So we handed out placards according to what they were there for. They then went and parked in the lot, and then we were surveying the lot every hour between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. at night. So what that allows us to do is really understand the demand in each parking area of the campus and exactly who's parking there at what times. And that kind of helps inform our projections for this new building. So there's going to be a lot of numbers that show up on the screen here, but I'll walk you through them and step through it one by one. So we'll start at the top of the screen with the current condition. You'll kind of see 2 columns. One is capacity, so that's how many spaces would actually be in the lot, as well as demand, so that would be how many cars are actually in each lot. So current condition, there's right now there's 1,410 parking spaces across the entire campus. And during our surveys, what we found is the demand, the highest demand during the day was 1,150. That occurs at 11 a.m., which is pretty typical for hospitals. Normally the peak hours, 11 a.m. in the morning, or you might get mid-afternoon where you have a shift change. And critical mass of patients is normally mid-morning or mid-afternoon. So with Huntley, it was 11 a.m., and that's current condition, 82% utilized. So when we move forward and start to think about new MOB3 as well as the new north lot, when we would look to construct the north lot, that would have 394 spaces. So that would bring our total number of spaces up from 1,410 to 1,804. And then from there, building the new building ends up displacing some parking spaces. So the new building is constructed immediately east of the medical office building number 2. And there's currently, as Charles alluded to, the doctor parking lot there. So some of those spaces would be displaced. So overall, it's a net loss of, when you construct the building, you lose 171 spaces. So after the north parking lot is built, MOB3 is finished, it then becomes occupied and utilized by patients, employees, and we need to understand what the future demand, so how many cars will actually be parking there during that peak period of that building. So we came up with our demand at 268 spaces for the building, and we came up with that based on the actual programmatic uses of MOB3. So working with Northwestern, we are understanding basically what user groups are gonna be using that building at what times, and using the demand information we got from our existing counts, we're able to understand and project into the future how much parking MOB3 needs based on the actual data we collected in the lot last fall. So that brings us to our 268 number. And from there, when you add all that together, we basically end up with a new total space count on the campus of 1,633, with an effective demand of around 1,418. So that brings our utilization a little bit further up than what it is now, around 87%. And another thing we're looking to do across the campus is to reconfigure the ADA, or accessible spaces. A while back, the ADA law was revised to allow handicap spaces to share the hatched area between two spaces instead of one requiring one hatched area. So that allows us to effectively gain an additional 46 spaces across the campus. And what that does is it brings our utilization back in line, very close with what we're at right now. So that's kind of how we did our parking study, understood what the demand of MOB3 is, and how we came up with our new number. And now I'm going to step kind of through the building characteristics and the current Huntley zoning code and how they relate to each other. So for the new building and the new north lot, the new north lot is going to have 394 spaces. MOB3 is going to displace 194 or 196. That's the loss. But upon constructing the new building, there's going to be those additional spaces that front the south and east side. So that's an additional 25 that are associated with the building. So what you end up with is a net gain of 223 spaces when it's all said and done. Huntley's current zoning code for a medical office building of this size requires 312. So we would be roughly 89 spaces below code, and we would be looking for relief from the code to move forward with this. So here's the layout of the north lot. You can see the drive aisles running north-south are contiguous with the adjacent lot to the south. There's 394 employee parking spaces, so this would be dedicated strictly to employees. And the stall width is 9 feet, which is 1 foot off of the current zoning code of 10 feet. So that is something we would be seeking relief for. And this is just a map kind of showing you the parking allocation across the entire campus. There's nothing really new here. It's just showing you where the new building is, kind of on the eastern side of the campus. And the yellow color is where employees would be allocated to park. The pink is for patients and visitors, so keeping that convenient parking closest to the medical office buildings and the hospital. It's kind of hard to tell, but there's green over here on the south side. That's fitness center parking. And then lastly, we have the purple, which is physician parking. So nothing really new about this, just kind of showing you the allocation of where people will be parking on the site. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Hart, and we would love to take questions.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Rob and Sunwoo. That concludes our presentation. Appreciate your time tonight. And again, we're looking forward to your feedback so we can continue the process moving forward.
Sounds good. Thank you. Who would like to kick it off? Trustee Westberg?
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, we're always excited when you guys expand and bring good services, medical services to Huntley. And so you said there's a ambulatory entrance for this building. Is that accurate?
So what there is there's ambulance parking, and that would be for,
Okay.
yeah, that would be for patients that are immobile that would be coming through that back entrance.
Are there any services out of the existing buildings that are gonna move to this? Okay.
That require an ambulance, is that what you're
No,
asking?
just services in general. Cardiac.
Yeah, so cardio diagnostics is currently in hospital, so they will move to MOB3. And then outpatient, so there's an inpatient infusion in hospital, but we are expanding outpatient infusion clinic in the new MOB3.
Okay. Who's in charge of irrigation? I like the look of it. I just want to make sure it's being irrigated because we've always struggled to see anything grow out there.
Okay.
So, I don't know.
It's-
Is it going to be irrigated?
Yes, yes it is.
That,
You're
I
talking about all the landscaping around the area?
Yes.
Yes, yes. And we're also trying to use, more local and native plants too that require minimal. But
Okay.
there will be some irrigation.
Okay. You're currently at 82%, is what you said, your maximum at 11 a.m. on the parking?
Yeah, correct. 82% utilization.
And then after everything's done and people are using it, are you saying you're gonna be at 87% or 84%?
84.
84%,
Yeah.
so you're gonna go up a little bit.
Yes, correct.
And also, if I may point out, as you saw on the last diagram here, we are committed to providing a land bank parking area to the north of this north lot.
Yeah.
So that if, we believe that this plan will be sufficient for our needs. But if we need more parking, we are designating and prepared that we can, at a future date as necessary, construct more parking to serve the campus.
Well, I'm gonna probably tell you you're gonna need it because I'm not gonna go for 9 feet stalls. We have trucks out here, big trucks, and 9-foot stalls just don't fit. So, I mean, you guys have the space. Retention's fine, water retention? You'll have plenty,
Designed for the,
Yes.
yes, for the,
even with the land bank?
Yes.
How bad does that change your plan if I say 10 feet on the stalls?
it would, well, one of two things would happen with that. Either we would have less parking overall if we didn't construct the land bank now, which means the nature of our quantity relief would increase. We would be providing less spaces here. Or we'd have to construct, if we wanted to keep the same number of spaces, we'd have to go north now. And that does add cost, that does add detention requirements. We're prepared to do that if we need to. We designated this, we respect and understand that 10 feet is what your code says. Our whole campus has been at 9 feet, and we believe it's worked for us. But even that said, one of the reasons we designated this as employee parking is because it's our understanding through the study that Kimley Horn did, that employees are not typically driving cars of that size. We understand that that may be more common among the residents of Huntley, but our employees, in our experience, can and do use 9-foot spaces without any trouble. So that was very deliberate. We didn't make that employee parking for just out of a whim. We understand the requirement. We wanted to make sure that if we're building 9-foot spaces, that we're doing so for those who won't have an issue with them.
Can I add to, I'll add to that, the parking that you see down, oh, you can't really see it there. The parking that's directly to the east of MOB3, those will be 10-foot spaces. So the parts that are new for patients will be adhering to the 10. It's just the P that is that, say,
Yeah,
yeah, the P, the letter P that, the north parking lot that would be for staff. That would
That
be
394?
Yes. Yeah.
That's not constructed, right?
No, that's the new lot. That P represents the new lot we'll build as part of this project.
And your retention's good? That's not gonna go on to Tom's farm?
It was a part of the master plan all along.
All right. I prefer the 10. let's hear what everybody else has to say. Otherwise, yeah, no, good job. It looks good.
Thank you.
I like that you're tying some of the other buildings together to it. It looks good, but let's work on the parking maybe, or whatever else everybody else has to say.
Trustee Pivko?
Yeah, well, I have to agree with trustee Westberg. That was my first issue, is the 10-foot stalls. I know that's not what you had before, but that's current code. I'd prefer to see that as well. You know, as he mentioned also too, the blend of the building itself, I kind of like that. First, when I first saw it, it's like, looks kind of weird. I mean, it was like too futuristic type of thing, but then I got looking a little more deeper on it, and I realized, okay, it's not as bad as I think it was. So, but it was good job on that, though. But yeah, I agree. The parking is key out there.
Thank you.
Trustee Benigno?
First, I'd like to say that I think it's a huge positive toward continuing to serve the growing needs of our community. So I think it definitely is a huge positive. I agree with Trustee Pico. I do like the aesthetics. I do like the looks of it as well. I do have two questions, however. I would like to know the parking survey that was done. Over what period of time was that survey done?
So that was in fall of 2023. And the counts we performed were 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. at night. We did get out there earlier than that in the morning at 6 a.m. to start handing out placards, just because shifts do start earlier than 9 a.m. But when most patients start arriving for, surgery or general whatever they're doing, it's not till a little bit later in the morning. So demand really starts to ramp up at 9. So we started 9 and went through the whole day all the way to 6 p.m. at night.
So what was the survey done? Was it a one-day survey or was it a multiple-day survey?
It was over one day.
Is that typical of this type of study, that one day you feel is adequate information to determine such a complicated plan, so to speak?
Yes, it typically is, and we coordinated with the hospital on it was a typically busy day. So we do expect that the data we collected is consistent. If we were out there on a Tuesday versus a Thursday, it's going to be pretty similar.
Okay. The only other question I have is, do you have, I know this is difficult, do you have a time frame in terms of when you expect, if everything goes the way you hope it to go, completion?
Yes, we anticipate open up for 2026, yes.
Okay.
So 2 years.
Thank you.
There's, on that, and there is, sorry, thanks, Senator Wu. One element, and I know not everyone has spoken yet, but we are looking at possibly starting paving out on the north lot, maybe even before we get through the zoning process here. I'm curious whether, and it would be at our risk, understanding that you may not ultimately approve the zoning, but technically that does require relief itself. I'm curious whether the board would be comfortable with that, if we could work out some means of doing that with your staff and attorney. And the reason for that is simply timing with, plant closures. Asphalt plants typically close mid-November, and we want to be able to get out there and start the north lot work as soon as we can. So that doesn't drive this project, but I did, since you mentioned it, Trustee, I wanted to just at least float that out there and see if that's something that the board was comfortable with. Again, assuming everything else is generally in order. So I appreciate that consideration.
And then getting to one of the other trustees' concerns with the 9-foot or 10-foot parking stalls, did I understand you correctly, they're saying that the 9-foot parking stalls are primarily with the employee parking lot, and that the patient portion is the 10-foot?
Correct, exclusively. That, you see on your screen now, the north lot is what's designated as P. It's the north part of the property. It's the right side of your screen. That will be reserved for employee parking.
And that's the only lot that will be 9-foot?
Well, the remainder of the campus is already 9 foot.
I mean, the ones that you're going to, the additional ones are going to be.
Correct. Over here in area Q, which is immediately adjacent to the new building, those are all going to be built at a 10-foot width.
Okay.
And we expect those to be used by patients.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Trustee Goldman?
Want to go first?
No.
Okay, I'm going to take it a little different direction.
Make sure your
I'm
mic's
not
on.
technical. Oh, sorry. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to compliment you on bringing the hospital to Huntley. That was very exciting for us, and we're very grateful to have you here. We have an aging population in this country, and so we know that, I figured that eventually the hospital would have to expand. So I've got different questions than they do, okay? Do you still have the Woodstock campus?
Yes. Yes.
And then what does that specialize in there?
Currently is specialized for behavioral health.
Mental health?
Behavioral mental
Yeah,
health,
that's what
yes.
I thought. What about your McHenry campus?
McKinney, we do have a cancer care center over there. So most patients from who resident in Hundley, they have to go either McKinney Hospital
right.
or Central DuPage Hospital in the field.
Good. That's a perfect segue into my next question. I'm glad that you're bringing oncology back to this area, because I have a girlfriend that went through hell going up to McHenry, okay? And so I suspect that, well, let me just ask you this question. Forget today with parking lots and all that. I'm looking ahead like 5 years from now and your growth. Do you still have land there to build even more buildings?
Yeah.
The answer generally is yes, and we don't have any current plans for that now, but there is more room to the north, as you can see, and the campus does extend to the east. On this screen here, it's to the bottom right, but the campus does include areas there along Reed. So if and when the time comes, there is room for further expansion.
Oh, look, I predict that you will be in that position eventually because of the growth of the area, okay? And as I said, aging up of people. I'm going to ask you to consider something for your oncology section, and that is hospitals can be very stark, scary places. And so I'm hoping that when you build that section, that you will make it comfortable, green spaces, beautiful pictures on the wall and everything, because I know what my girlfriend is going through, okay? And are you going to have trouble finding more employees? Not everybody's going into the medical fields. Nursing, there's a shortage. And you were talking like, what, need 300 more employees or something for your plans?
Yeah, I'm hoping this MOB3 would support hire the nurse and doctor put into Hundley.
Good luck with that and finding them. But I have no issues with what you've done. I'm very proud of it. I remember back when Michael Guerin, remember when he did his video and you guys had to go before the board, I guess in the state or something. And I'm okay with it. You're user-friendly. And I assume that you have what I call campus police or security, okay? Especially for people going in and out in the dark, thinking about your employees. But I want to go back to the idea of future growth. Just start anticipating what you need. I'm glad you're bringing oncology back to this area. Unfortunately, it's a very sad place to be. But thank you for coming in front of us.
Thank you, appreciate the comments.
Trustee Zadorowitz?
Yeah, gentlemen, love the presentation, love the way everything looks. It ties in well with what's already there, and just in general, it's really appealing. Thank you, too, for the investment in Huntley, for the continued investment in Huntley. I know the surrounding areas appreciate it as well. Is your long-term vision making this kind of a premier campus in general?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Because I could see that you're off to that path, and I think that's a good thing, not only for the village, but for the folks in the surrounding area.
Yes, the MOB3 is our first step for long vision, and then we'll follow up after that for next level of development.
Perfect. One just little clarification, because I just missed it, and it's nothing major, but that enclosed pedestrian walkway, is that elevated or is that on the ground?
It's on ground.
On ground, okay. Cool. And then the entrance, you said to MOB3 is the northwest,
Northeast.
northeast corner.
Yes.
Okay.
So you can kind of see those doors right in there.
Yeah, okay, I got you. I'm not as concerned about the 9-foot parking spaces, given the fact that it's the employee lot. If it was a patient lot and it was strongly gonna be used by the patients, that would alter my decision on that. But it's the employees, they're coming in shifts. It's not a patient that's coming in for 30 minutes, leaving, and we got cars going in and out of there type of thing. So I don't feel as strongly as others on that one. But again, it looks good and looking forward to it.
Thanks.
All right, I got a couple for you on the parking itself. The 89 land bank spaces. I'm okay with that with your study because it is for the employees. So the one thing I will give you credit for is, you know what your employee counts are day to day. It's pretty similar, so it's not like it was patients that you were counting in or out or different that way. The part that makes this a little difficult, unique, is when Centegra started this project, our code was 9-foot stalls. So everything around this campus was built to that, designed for that. I understand that part of it. I also am a big proponent of our 10-foot stalls. So I don't know how we would have to go about making a, variation, probably if you came back to us for your approval. One thing I could get behind and support is, if you're doing your parking spaces for your employees, since it was brought in when the whole acreage was planned at 9 foot, I'm okay with that for your employees. However, any new public or patient parking, I'd like to see it 10 foot, just because then you'll still have some 9-foot spots, but then you've got the guys in the trucks, the Tahoes, the bigger vehicles, that at least there's the option for them on campus to maybe try to find a 10-foot spot. So I think that could be a compromise that I could live with and work with, because how things evolved from when you started to where we are now. So it's not like our plan was 10 foot and you asked for a variation and you got it then, that you followed our code when it was originally built, and I appreciate that. I should have started off by thanking you for your continued investment in the village. It is a premier campus. When Centegra came in, I know it's Northwestern now, it was meant to be their premier campus, and then, things happen in the business world and it's all understandable. But I'd also like to commend Northwestern for continuing and carrying that torch to make it a little different than just the run-of-the-mill hospital and regular doctor's office building with the additional services you're planning to offer. I think it speaks volumes to your commitment to our community and our area. So I do want to thank you on that. I actually like how you incorporated into the MOB3 the features of the other buildings that are already on the campus, and you took something from everything. And I think that just adds character, and I think it again shows your commitment to a quality project that isn't a run-of-the-mill cookie cutter cheapest way to do it. There's some expense in how you want to do it, and I think that looks nice. There's my 2 cents for what it's worth. Obviously, you've got all the land to the north yet, and the northeast corner by Reed Road. So obviously, if you build more buildings, we'll have more parking lots get put out that way. So just maybe keep that in mind as we're doing parking lots going forward. The 10-foot would be, I would like to, I think that'd be the happy compromise. If it's employee parking and noted that and it's permitted, it is what it is. But if it's anything that's gonna be for pedestrian, for customer use, as you would say, or patients, I'd like to see our new ordinance followed. So anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns? Trustee Westberg?
One more. So at 84%, what is the threshold for that land bank to get developed? Do you hit 95% for 3 months?
No, I don't have the exact percentage for you, but it wouldn't go up more than than a couple percent.
No, the question is, what would trigger that land bank to get developed?
Typically, we've always held that at the village's discretion, and that's how we've written most of those agreements. So we would certainly work with the Northwestern team to look at that number and ensure that we're on the same page. But typically, we've held that if the village decides that that parking needs to be added.
For you,
I don't know, 90% for,
I think whatever we've got.
Something like that.
standard,
Yeah, we'll pull out the
so
existing
we stay
language that we've
consistent.
used.
that's fine. And I'll give you a buy on the 10-foot for the patient and 9-foot for the, can we go 9.5 feet?
We will appreciate the time. We will look at
Thank
what the geometrics would be if we altered that north lot. I appreciate the consideration of some flexibility, but we'll sharpen our pencil to that and see what that means if we convert that north lot to 10 feet.
And you asked for a little consensus of the board, so we'll go down that road next. For if you wanted to construct the parking lot P.
Yeah.
Before you went through this.
Yeah.
I think that's forward thinking because I'm an excavator by trade, so that's my wheelhouse. So when you're in the middle of a parking, a project like this, to already have your parking moved, it's gonna make the construction process a lot easier, so I think that'd be good. Also, with that being my profession, I know you configure lots different ways. I would just say going forward, if it's truly employee parking, I'm okay with it being configured at 9. But know that if you could design it, so 25, 30 years down the road, when you've got more buildings built out through the parking lot, and that's now your patient parking, that it's configured that you convert it from 9 to 10-foot spots at that point, and you don't have a half a spot, an island in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Just
Sure, yeah.
do the geometrics that I'm okay with it being for what it is now, but looking towards the future, that if you can make it work with restriping it down the road, if it had to become patient, that it would be possible and not a huge pain, so. That's my 2 thoughts on what the rest of the board is on doing the parking before they,
Yeah, that's fine.
you guys work with staff to figure out how you want to go about doing that. Trustee Pifko?
Yeah, I'm good.
Trustee Bedingno?
I'm fine.
Trustee Goldman? I saw Rick shaking his head and JR, so.
Thank you. Appreciate that as well. Thank you.
So, anybody else got comments that they forgot? Looks good. Thank you for your continued investment.
Thank you again. We appreciate this really wonderful feedback and discussion. And we will be back. We'll take this next through the process. And again, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
All right, we've got 8.2. Trudy, I believe, is petitioner, if you'd like to come forward, because I'm sure we're going to have some questions. It is an ordinance approving the final planned unit development, including a necessary relief, accommodating the construction of 3 speculative multi-tenant commercial buildings within the B2 PUD Highway Service District for Lot 205 of the Fitzgerald subdivision, located at the southeast corner of Charles H. Sass Parkway and Main Street. Charlie?
Thank you, Mayor. We're just getting a PowerPoint pulled up here real quick. All right, we're ready to go. Board may recall you previously saw this as a concept review back in September of '22. A fairly similar project to what you reviewed in '22 with a few subtle changes, which I'll point out as we proceed through the presentation. But again, this is a final plan unit development, including necessary relief for the property you see here at the southeast corner of Charles Sass Parkway and Main Street. This was originally planned in 2003 with the Estates of Lyons Chase. The Estates of Lyons Chase provided 2 commercial lots along Main Street, this being one of them, the second being to the east, which is still currently a farmstead. The property is zoned B2 and has been zoned B2 since it was platted in 2003. The project before you tonight, there have been no users identified at this point in time. The owner is currently marketing the property toward retail, personal service, office, medical office, and restaurant users. So again, speculative at this point in time. So starting with the site plan includes 3 buildings. on the 6-acre lot. Building A, which is to the left, is a 14,400 square foot single-story building. They anticipate that accommodating up to 4 tenants. And then buildings B and C are more traditional multi-tenant retail centers, each 10,500 square feet, could support up to 5 tenant spaces each. The site plan itself provides access from Charles Sass Parkway as well as Main Street. There is a 2-lane drive aisle that connects both of those entrance points to Charles Sass Parkway, running along the rear of the buildings to Main Street. That provides the main access to the properties with driveways between the buildings accessing Building A as well as Building C. This driveway would also serve for future development to the east on the second commercial property. So again, there would be easements in place for this to be a shared access drive running north-south on the property. This is also would be under an easement, again, for use for not only this property, but property to the east. So again, they're providing access to the 2 commercial lots. That rear drive would also provide the truck delivery area for buildings B and C. Building A does provide a delivery access location just directly south of the building. Dumpster enclosures are provided to the rear of the buildings. You see that south of Building A, south of Building B, and south of Building C. Pedestrian connections are provided. There are existing multi-use paths along Charles Sass Parkway and Main Street. Those will remain. The petitioner is proposing connection points to each of the buildings. You see connection point to Building C from that Main Street lot, Building B from the Main Street path, and then to the north of Building A, as well as at the driveway along Charles Sass to the south west corner. Again, providing pedestrian connections into each building, and then there are bike racks provided as required by ordinance at each building. As I noted, access is provided on Charles Sass as well as Main Street. The original plat of subdivision for the property restricted access along Charles Sass to a right-in, right-out. It did provide for a full access on Main Street. However, that full access was provided to the further to the east, approximately 937 feet east of Charles Sass Parkway. As part of this, they're proposing to modify that. So they're looking to move that access point onto their property. Again, it'd be a shared access point with future development to the east. They do have an agreement from the neighboring property owner to do that. However, in doing so, it's no longer a full access given the proximity to the intersection. It's a 3/4 access. So this is a right in, a right out, and a left in for westbound traffic. You cannot make a left onto Main Street at this point. To do that, you would travel to the Charles Sass Parkway and then utilize the Main Street intersection section at Charles Sass Parkway, which is proposed to be a signalized intersection. I will note Main Street is under the jurisdiction of McHenry County Department of Transportation, so they are reviewing plans as part of this proposal as well. And then Charles Sass Parkway is under the jurisdiction of Huntley. So as I mentioned, the traffic signal proposed at Charles Sass Parkway and Main Street, that's been determined necessary by their traffic analysis. The owner has acknowledged the need for the signal and is committed to developing a span wire signal. This is similar to the signal you see at Main Street and Marengo as well as Harmony Roads. It's considered a temporary or permanent temporary type of signal in anticipation of a permanent signal being constructed when property to the north is developed. So the farm to the north would be essentially the 4th leg of that intersection in the future. That being said, there's no development proposed on that property at this time. Parking on the property, primary customer parking is at the front of each building. There are a few spaces to the rear of each building for employees. The proposal provides 167 parking spaces, which works out to 4.7 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet, which does exceed the 4 spaces per 1,000 square feet as required by the ordinance. And this will be a shared parking lot, so regardless to which building you're accessing, you can park wherever within the parking lot, and there will be an agreement in place for that to occur. And then all parking spaces are proposed at 10 by 19 in accordance with the village ordinance. Building elevations are fairly similar to what you saw in 2022. The renderings are a little different, but the materials are very similar. Primarily the New England thin brick, which the dark brown you see at the bottom left, And you can see that on the rendering for the bulk of the building. There is the embassy-colored Coronado Classic Stone above the tenant spaces and surrounding the tenant space entrances, the glass entrances, and then the Black Forest Classic Stone is utilized at the base of the building. There is blue tenant signage not proposed, but shown on that. That's just for illustration purposes. That is not their intent to do blue signage like that. Then above each of the tenant space, there's a metal canopy that projects 4 to 6 feet. You can see that just slightly here in the corner as well as above those tenant spaces. These are renderings. What you see on the top rendering is the rendering that was provided in 2022. The second one is what the Plan Commission reviewed initially. They did send them back to the drawing board, which brings us to the proposal today. Again, very similar, although the rendering is a different version of the rendering, but the materials are fairly similar to what you saw in 22. And again, perspective viewpoint just a little different. So the buildings, again, are 24 feet 4 inches in total height. There are 6-foot parapets on them to provide rooftop screening, decorative tower features on each end of the building, and then sconce lighting at the columns adjacent to each tenant space. So this is the front of the primary multi-tenant retail buildings that would face Main Street. Rear of the buildings you see here, so the same materials carry around the rear of the building. And this is the building which would back to Charles Sass Parkway. This is the front facing the parking lot. This is the rear of the building. They designed that to be a two-sided building to give the appearance that it would also face Charles Sass Parkway, even though the entrances are on the other side of the building facing the parking lot. Signage, fairly typical for the retail center. They are proposing signage above each of the tenant spaces. This is Building A backing to Charles Sass Parkway. They are only proposing signage adjacent to the parking lot. They're not proposing signage on the back of the parking lot, or back of the building, excuse me, facing Charles Sass Parkway. And then for buildings B and C, the multi-tenant retail buildings, they are proposing signage on the front of the building, as well as the end caps. Relief is required for those end cap signage locations you see here. They also are required relief for 66 square additional feet of signage per building. In this case, they are not proposing signage on the rear of the buildings. These buildings will face towards the Lions Chase subdivision, so they didn't feel it was necessary to face signage towards the back of single-family homes. Monument signs are proposed on the property. There are 2 proposed at the corner, the intersection of Charles Sass Parkway and Main Street, signs simply stating Lions Chase. And then more centrally located on Main Street, you'll see the multi-tenant sign, which is sign B. That's an 11-foot tall illuminated sign, which provides tenant space or tenant panels for the future tenants within the building. The Lions Chase sign, which is sign A, is not an illuminated sign. They do require relief to provide a second ground sign on the property. The ordinance, village ordinance only requires 1 monument sign on the property, so relief is required for that second monument sign. Very quickly, landscaping. You do see the existing parkway trees on Main Street as well as Charles Sass Parkway remaining. They are then planting a hedgerow along Main Street to screen the parking lot. Then foundation plantings are provided where feasible. You see that on the building on the west side, along the north and south elevations, as well as the west. And then green spaces are provided to the rear of the multi-tenant buildings to provide additional buffering from the single family. In total, 58 new shade trees are being provided, 43 evergreen trees, 210 shrubs, and then perennials and grasses throughout the site. Calling further attention to the lot line shared with the Lions Chase subdivision, there currently is an existing mature tree line which was planted at the time of the original subdivision. That will remain. They are proposing to strategically locate evergreen trees where these drive aisles face towards the Lions Chase subdivision. So you should see the additional evergreen trees throughout where it runs parallel to the drive aisle. In addition to that, they would remove the split rail fence that exists there today. It's a white split rail fence. They're going to replace that with a 6-foot tall composite Trex fence, again, to provide further screening from the residential subdivision. It's worth noting too, the HOA for Lions Chase did weigh in on the proposal. Right now, they currently maintain that buffer between the subdivision and the commercial property, even though it is on the commercial property, so they're requesting that that be transitioned to the commercial property owner. So that's something you see as a condition of approval this evening, is that obligation to maintain that buffer is being transitioned to the commercial property owner because it is on his property. Quickly, parking lot lighting, you see LED-style fixtures, 20 feet in height throughout the parking lot, and then the decorative Westwood sconces that I mentioned along the elevations of the buildings. As I mentioned, the board previously reviewed this in September of '22. Questions, comments related to traffic safety. Petitioner did provide a traffic study, and that does explain the necessary improvements that are being made in the proposed access points as well as the signalized intersection. Comments were also made regarding the buffering from the street and that, again, the hedgerow for the parking, the maintenance and maintaining the existing trees that are planted along the parkway, as well as the buffering from the residents, hence the fence, the additional evergreens that are being provided, and then the building design, specifically the one that backs Charles Sass Parkway, being two-sided to appear as if it fronts Charles Sass Parkway, and they've done that with providing windows and, again, carrying the building materials around all four sides of the building. And then there was discussion regarding the building lighting, and again, sconces have been added to the multi-tenant buildings for decorative lighting elements. Planning Commission reviewed the request in June initially. They did hold a public hearing. 4 residents from the Estates of Lions Chase subdivision did speak, including the president of the HOA. Concerns varied from the location of the commercial buildings to the management of the building to the elevations that were proposed at the time. Concerns lighting, traffic safety, so on and so forth. You can see the list there. Planning Commission primarily focused their discussion on the architecture, which they did not like at the time, and I noted that the elevation or rendering I showed you was the first version that was presented to the Planning Commission. They did send them to the drawing board and asked them to return to the June 24th meeting with revised elevations. Those are the elevations that are before you tonight and included within your packet. Which leads me to the Planning Commission recommendation. They did recommend by a vote of 5-0 to recommend approval of the project, subject to 12 conditions of approval. In the essence of time, I won't go through them all. I will call out the ones that are highlighted, though, or in bold. First being that the petitioner shall be required to submit a plat of correction to transfer permanent Main Street access from Lot 206 to 205. That shall be reviewed by the village as well as the McHenry County Department of Transportation. The petitioner shall be required to record all proposed cross-access easements on the plat of subdivision. Condition 5, the petitioner shall be required to record upon the final plat of subdivision the owner's ongoing landscape maintenance responsibilities for the 30-foot landscape easement along the south property line and the parkway areas adjacent to lots 205 and 206. Condition 6, the petitioner shall be required to submit roadway improvement plans, including the proposed deceleration lane on eastbound Main Street, the striping and dedication of a left turn lane on West Main Street, and the installation of the signal at Main Street and Charles Sass Parkway. That will be reviewed by the Village of Huntley as well as the McHenry County Department of Transportation. And those improvements shall be constructed as part of the first phase of site development and be completed prior to the first certificate of occupancy. Condition 8 is the 8-foot tall composite fence. The property owner to the east has requested that be extended or installed along that east lot line they share, so that is a condition of approval. And then condition 9, external glare shields shall be installed on all pole fixtures, essentially house side shields is what we call them, to ensure any adjacent residential homes aren't impacted by glare from those fixtures. Planning Commission did have additional modifications or recommendations pertaining to the utilities and installation of facilities for electric vehicles, which is now a state requirement. And then the petitioner shall establish restrictions for the retail center, prohibiting overnight parking and limiting the hours of operation. There was some concern that restaurants could operate late into the night. So that leads me to the action requested tonight. The petitioner is requesting a ordinance approval of the final planned unit development, including the necessary relief to accommodate the construction of the 3 multi-tenant commercial buildings in the B2 Highway Service District. Happy to take any questions, and the petitioner is in attendance to address any questions as well.
Thank you, Charlie. Does the petitioner have anything you'd like to add before we get to questions, comments, concerns?
Thank you, Charlie. We've been through plenty with the planning commission and everybody, so Charlie presented it much better than I would have. So, yeah, please, and I'll take questions.
All right, thank you. Let's start with trustee Zadorowitz.
Well, thanks for listening to what the previous board had said and making the changes that were there. I just have a few things. The access points on Main Street and on Sass Parkway. So let's just look at the Main Street one since that's up here on our screen, right? The right turn out only. How is that? Is there gonna be concrete there to prevent cars from going left, or is it
Correct.
just paint?
No, it is going to be concrete. There's a specific term, pork chop, or, sorry?
Trudy Bueller, Mackey Consultants, civil engineer. It is going to be a 6-inch barrier curb median for both entrances. Based on feedback from the Henry County DOT, they've actually got a little bit wider, and we've kind of do a little bit better job of on the, what I'll call the right turn, just trying to force the right turn, so it's not as easy to kind of
Cheat back.
Get around.
cheat around it. So, but those will be concrete barrier items.
Perfect. We talked about it with the hospital a little while ago, the landscaping. Is there gonna be irrigation with that as well, or?
It'll be irrigated, yes.
Okay, so it stays looking all nice and new and
At least
fresh.
summertime.
Perfect. That monument sign, the one with the, with all the tenants, on it, is there a cap on that, or is it, I couldn't tell. Oh, so the Lions Chase is gonna be above it and it's all
Correct.
the concrete. I'm sorry, I missed that the first time. Lastly, I saw in here, no users identified, no tenants identified. If this thing gets approved, are you building without having anybody lined up, or is it, what's gonna trigger the building
I've been
process?
postponing the LOIs, contingent on getting approvals. But we do have several folks waiting on it. Of course, there's a dental office, there's a salon suites, a nail salon. And then there's, of course, a convenience store already. I could not give them a promised date until.
Understood.
Yeah, so I do have people in waiting, but I have not committed to them as of now.
And then when you start developing them, are you gonna develop building A first, and then are they gonna be able to move in while B and C are being built, or?
The plan is to start A and B, go vertical with them. Of course, the site work will be done for all three at the same time, and depending on the occupancy on building B, if it's reaching to the point that I need to start going vertical on building C, I'll start right away. And if, while the preliminary leases are being signed, if I get enough demand, then, there would be no phasing. It would be just one time.
I like the way it looks, I like the materials and everything, so.
Thank you.
Good.
Trustee Goldman?
Can you clarify something for me? Okay. Originally, Building A is supposed to have, in your concept, 4 tenants.
Correct.
B and C, 5 each.
Mhm.
That's 14 different businesses.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? Then I read further that A is going to be limited to medical.
It is a professional building. So more along the dental and services that could be medical, but it could be more of along the lines of an office space. We have salon suites who are interested, which would be on the professional line, doing services such as Botox and kind of like, not truly med spa, but doing certain procedures that fall within the professional guidances. So, I would call it a professional building, not completely medical building.
Here's my thought. And it's not any different than when you appeared before us, okay? The village board. I was worried about traffic because of the high school kids and Coin Station Road and the speeding and the accidents and whatever in that whole area.
Sure.
Okay? And my concern is still there. I think, I don't know, I think you're ambitious in trying to get 14 different businesses into that space, okay? I would rather have you rethink it. That's my thought, okay? You have, I think it requires a different mindset. I mean, I know you have your vision, but I don't know where you're gonna get 14 businesses from. And I'd rather have you come back with something that is more reasonable and logical. But that's my thought about it, okay? And I'm worried about all the traffic still. I'm worried about all those people going in and out of 14 businesses if you get them,
Correct.
okay?
So, 14 businesses if everyone occupied those individual spaces. The convenience store wants to take 3 of the spaces. That's what we're negotiating on. So we're down to 11. The other units also, if a restaurant comes in, a breakfast place, they're not gonna take 2,000, they might take 3,500 square feet. So that is the scenario where everybody wants that little space. So this is the max we could fit in, but more logically, I would say it would be a smaller number, close to 10 or so. But again, there is accommodation for a lot more businesses based on the spaces, but of course, the demand that, as it appears, would be much less than 14. I would say close to 9 or 10. And, sorry, I'm interrupting you. And to address the traffic situation, of course, we're working with the traffic light. And of course, depending on the discussion with the county, you know, and hopefully we'll be able to get that speed limit reduced.
I want you to be successful. I just don't want you to be overly ambitious, and then you end up, and so do we, with empty buildings, okay?
Of course. Yeah.
Dave, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Does he have to come back in front of us if, let's say, Building B, it's hypothetical, becomes a restaurant, so you're not gonna have 5 different tenants, okay? Does he have to come back in front of us to have that change, or is that at will?
Based on the zoning change that we made, he wouldn't be back in front of you, so.
I don't know, I'm still hesitant. I'm kind of concerned about lack of reality.
Okay, in
In
reality,
terms
would
of 14
be
tenants.
me bringing LOIs and leases in front of you? I'm just checking.
I don't know. I'm going to listen to my
Of course.
colleagues and then make up my mind.
Trustee Benigno?
Yes, again, thank you for showing interest in Huntley. I was not on the board in 2022 when you first proposed your development, but the question that I have is, what did you use to determine that this location would be a viable location for the type of development that you're looking at?
The main reason behind it is the proximity to, of course, the high school and the residences behind it, because as of now, yes, they can certainly take Charles Sass and head over to 47, but then there's a lot of construction that is going to come to the town, especially in the lot to the north. So that is one of the big factor for me to determine that. Of course, I have a few businesses of my own, so I would be occupying some of the spaces if need be to serve the residents, but that was the main goal.
The reason why I asked that question, I mean, you have more experience and knowledge in terms of how to determine what would be successful. Just that I know myself in going by that area, I think to myself, it's a no man's land. I'm just saying that I look at it as being that the location just isn't, from my point of view, isn't a good location because it's sort of too out of the way. But
Correct, yeah. It certainly is as of now, but Huntley's growing and certainly in that direction. So, yes, you could say I'm taking a gamble on it, but that's where good opportunities coming ahead.
Thank you.
Trustee Pifko?
Yeah, actually, just to tag onto that, it's actually, because it's so out of the way and barren, it's perfect for them to come in and fill that gap. It's like a desert wasteland out there, so some businesses, you know, again, depending on what type of businesses are coming in, you mentioned the high school, so don't forget the fast food ones, so they can zip in, zip out type of thing. So keep that and Chinese food. The teachers love that, so just some suggestions for you. The only issue that I have with this is on, maybe you have an explanation for it. Charlie, can you get up the fronts, the
Elevations?
elevations, thank you. Go to the color one, it'd probably be easier. If you would, thank you. Those square tops that are on the corner, is there some reasoning that you have them there? I mean, that, to me, they look kind of weird. When I first saw this, I looked at it, and I also wasn't on the board at the time, so I didn't see the initial version of it. But to me, it looked like a car dealership of some sort, you know, so it just caught me as being, I don't know, a little weird, but I don't know if you can do anything with that or change it a little bit to make it look better.
We introduced those just to offset it as one flat building, to make it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I just, you know, the square, I don't know, it just looks weird.
Just to break up things, there's nothing gained. Yes, of course, the tenants will have a little bit higher roof line or ceiling on there, but other than that, yeah, it was just more to make it look better. Because otherwise, it would have been too simple.
Yeah, like I say, and I appreciate that, you know, because we love to break up things there. I don't know, maybe.
Maybe a pyramid?
Well, maybe a middle, maybe something in the middle or whatever to kind of balance it out, just
Okay.
a smaller version of that or something, I don't know. Just something that I mean, those things really stand out. And, I mean, if you want to emphasize a business, I guess that's the way to do it, but, you know, but otherwise, looks good to me.
Thank you.
Trustee Westberg?
Yeah, that same photo, the 3 renderings. I don't know, I'm just not a person of blue. I like the top one best. I don't know, it's just the nice tans and whatnot, but I know you said those signs are not.
No, that is just.
It just comes
highlighting
off
that
so
those
blue,
would
I
not
don't
be
know,
the colors.
but yeah. All right, then to the aerial with the right in, right out, yeah, there we go. As others have mentioned, this is kind of our out there. The only traffic that's driven through there is the traffic to get to the high school. You're gonna have to put in some spectacular restaurant or a nail salon that I'll go get my pedicures at to drive traffic out there. The complaints on Facebook with all this traffic that don't understand that it's just the high school traffic really at this point in time. I wish you the best of luck. I know you're trying to get traffic there, but you're gonna get lines chase people there to the convenience store because they don't wanna go in town.
Correct.
You're gonna get a lines chase person there because maybe there's a cleaners, right? Or a breakfast place. Now, that would drive traffic out, but I just don't see it, like, at this time, and I don't, it's not gonna have extra traffic. It's what traffic goes out there, sees it and says, oh, I'll stop there, right? So, unless, of course, you put in a Ruth's Chris, which they won't go out there, but, yeah, I see this as like what is it, the 7-Eleven on Algonquin, where you have to come in off of Lakewood, and then you go in and get your gas, and then you do a right out, back onto Algonquin. Almost right, same thing?
Exactly.
Identical. What's the parking behind B and C? Is that for employees? Okay. That's different. I haven't seen that before. No. I guess it's good. Yeah. As long as the colors stay relatively browns and taupes. The north side by the Jewel, the newer Jewel, they have a lot of those brown brick taupes and things like that. Maybe just take a drive through there, make it look similar. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're talking about the high windows on the corner? the double stack windows like that?
Can you go back to the one more elevation page? Where it's, yep, thank you.
No, yeah, there it is too. But then they cornered off they put some stuff on the corners of it.
Glass in there, which is,
Yeah.
that's cut off. I'm talking about this here though.
I know what you're saying, yeah, but this looks like a dealership to me, but.
Yeah, even if you maybe shortened it like there was the top one, the original version of it.
All right.
There was a smaller one maybe.
Okay.
You're gonna work on something like that? I know it's the third one, or are we voting on this?
Well, I got a couple comments first too.
Oh.
I didn't know if you were done. I didn't want to interrupt you.
I'm all done, thank you.
I promise you, no blue signs.
What was the reasoning? I actually, while we're on the elevations, I liked the first one you came up to us with the conceptual review. What was the reasoning of not just going back to that?
We tried on 610 with a simpler design aspect.
Right.
And then when we were told to go
Right.
back to it, yeah. So it is basically the same layout, just a little bit different, because we wanted to have the overhangs
Right.
in front of the tenants in the middle. I believe that's a major change. And then we did wraparound windows towards the front. The original plans also had wraparound windows towards the back, which again, tenants had concerns about their privacy, even though there's gonna be a fence there, but we decided to get rid of those windows, and we decided why not put wraparound windows to the front.
My 2 cents for what it's worth. I agree with trustee Pifko and trustee Westberg that Plan 3 is better than Plan 2, but
One is better.
does it looks like a dealership or there's something else going on there? I'd like to see you go back to the first one you came to us conceptually. I think it just looks a little classier, looks a little nicer.
Okay.
That's just my 2 cents, I don't know.
I agree.
And as far as, you making it work financially, it's like I've said for my whole time up here, that's on you.
Mhm.
We're here for, zoning, does it fit? Is it a good, use for our village and what we need for the whole design? Yeah. Do I want to see you make it be successful? Absolutely. That's not my concern because you're the one that's driving that boat, not us. So I'm not really concerned if it's, the 14 units that are proposed. We've got our guidelines that you've got to adhere to within our development agreements or, our ordinances. So how you make that work is up to you. And that's my 2 cents for it. I think I agree with what JR was saying. If I'm on the same page as you are, people were complaining about increased traffic because of this. The traffic is already there unless you get something spectacular that's a one-off, one-of-a-kind attraction. The traffic issue isn't gonna be any worse than it is. You're gonna attract the people that are going that way on that side of town. So that part of it, I think, is actually a good thing. And like you said, with the development that could possibly happen directly north of this property, makes it a decent location for what you want to do. So, yeah, like I said, my comments are if you go back to the 922 conceptual review, that'd be my liking, but I don't know how we'd go about making that happen if we got to vote on everything tonight.
Is that something that you're willing to commit to?
So the 922 look and feel is very similar to the 624. Yes, the colors are a little different, so I can commit to getting the colors the right way. And then bringing taking the windows, instead of wraparound, bring them back the way they are. I would prefer to have an overhang above the middle tenants, which were not highlighted in the previous concept. And I would say we're 85% there. We just got to change the colors and add.
Maybe even the font too. Stick with the font, the first one.
Well, I think being that you're 85% there, not 100%, and I'm not being facetious at all, I think we should continue this and come back with the elevation changes and the awnings over the middle, so when we approve it, what we're looking at is what we're approving, it's not well, I said I would do this and there was a misunderstanding.
Of course.
Does that seem fair?
That's fair enough. When's the next meeting? Sorry. We would-
August 8th? Do we have enough time to put that on or not? We
That
could-
depends on the petitioner.
I'm the builder,
Right.
so I know both.
Can you step over to the mic, just that way it's on our recording?
I'm the builder, design build.
Thank you.
I know both very well. We started, Indra started with the first one.
Right.
We downscaled for a variety of reasons. We went back up to what we have. And if, for the motion tonight to get approved, I can commit to that upper section. Obviously, it's just a matter of how we build it. And we've been very aggressive in the last month and a half to get the first one to look very much like the third one. To go back is not a big deal for us.
I appreciate that. I think, but if we're gonna approve it, we'd like to see the awnings. And just, can you do a rendering, come back on the 8th? I mean, could you spin it in 2 weeks for us?
Of the awnings.
He wants to do awnings in the middle, like he's got on the Plan Commission PUD from 624. Make the modifications that it goes, you know, kind of a hybrid of,
That's more your direction. I mean, why don't we leave it like it is, and we'll go with building compliance if we want to make an amendment or a, validation of a confirm, but, I mean, I don't think that's. Yeah, just stay with A.
okay. Yeah, I think we should continue it because part of this approval is the architectural elevations of the building as proposed. So I would like to continue this to the 8th. That
Yeah,
way everything's-
I'd like the petitioner to have a chance to make it exactly how he
Right.
wanted it. It's his money, but then make it look more like it's 922. That's all. Even the font on 922 looks better than 24. So, I mean, it's real close, and I'm sure that's 85 clicks of the mouse and it's
Well-
done.
Will the towers get in the way per the second comment?
If
About
you
a
go
little-
with, if you go with the shorter ones up at the top, I can go with that.
Okay,
I think that's what it was. They were just too big.
Oh, I
Okay.
see what you're saying, yeah, okay.
So, I mean, this
I'm
is-
just trying
it
to
looked like-
validate, because I have to be the one to.
Yeah, I'm
Create-
thinking it was just too big this way.
Okay,
No, I mean,
I mean, 6 one, half dozen the other, but I think it looks better.
yeah, and a denial is not good, and then all the other things.
I think the
We want
quickest,
you to
simplest-
develop it. We want you to develop it. It's just we got a couple tweaks. That's it.
It's just the details. Does August, do you think you could spin it around in 2 weeks for August 8th?
sure.
We need something by Wednesday. I just, that's when our packets prepared goes
I
out to
mean,
board
it's,
Friday.
what we gave you originally is what we're giving you now.
So go ahead and resubmit it,
we'll
work
resubmit
with
it.
Charlie's group.
Sorry, Charlie.
Can,
Keep in mind that on the very first one, there were actually drive-throughs.
Yep.
And that's why the drive-through cuts over, and because of that, that extra piece on top does not go that far back. But on the, I would say the west side of the building, it does go a little farther back. That was when we originally came in with drive-throughs. So do keep that in mind.
so do you understand the direction or for what we're looking for?
Yes.
That we'll be in communication to, and if you want to add your awnings over the awnings you have in your middle tenant buildings on the 6/22/24, I could see if you wanted to add that up there, I would be fine. I think that would add a little detail that would look good, that would break it up a little bit. So I'd like to see that on there too, just so like I said, when we vote on it, we're voted on the architecturals as submitted, so I don't want to go through variances and, I just don't, I'm not a fan of that, so we'll get it right the first time and, move along, but I think you're on the right track. I appreciate the work you put into it. Like you said, you're 85% there. We'll just tweak it a little bit, and I think it'll be good. So, with that, I'd like a motion to continue until, do we want to put a date on it, or August 8th? That'll work.
Motion to continue to August 8th, 2024.
Trustee Westberg with the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Pifko with the second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Westberg.
Aye.
Trustee Pivko.
Aye.
Trustee Benigno.
Aye.
Trustee Goldman.
Yes.
Trustee Zadorowitz.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. No, and thank,
Any other concerns other than the design that we need to address?
I think everybody had their comments. You heard Trustee Goldman's, her concerns, but that's, like I said, I think she's being very cautious, like you always are. But
I'm trying to be realistic.
well, that's where the developer has to make those decisions
If you really
financially.
have businesses kind of in your mind that you're negotiating, maybe it would be worth it when you come back with a drawing that makes more sense to me about how you're gonna section these things, but kind of let us know what you're thinking of.
But I don't want that to be part of the approval, because if it changes, then it gets sticky, so I think it lives within our ordinances and.
Yeah, that's not said until,
Right.
have
You-
leases signed.
Right, and that's when you go to the building department.
Yeah, we'll focus in on the design and
Yep.
bring it over.
I think that's the biggest thing. I think the traffic flow, the parking lot, everything else, everybody's good with landscaping.
Yep.
I just don't want to get here on the 8th and say, oh, we forgot about this. I'm just making sure,
Yeah, I
so.
mean, planning and zoning did a great job getting that together and cleaning it up, so we're good.
Okay.
I just, a couple little tweaks.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm tired.
Item 8.3, we've got proposed wireless telecommunications service facilities on Village Huntley Water Tower Number 1, 10374 Route 47, including consideration of resolution approving an option and structure lease agreement with Singular Wireless, PCS, LLC, doing business as AT&T Wireless for Water Tower Number 1, 10374 Route 47, and consideration of an ordinance approving a special use permit for wireless telecommunications service facilities on Tower Number 1, 10374 Route 47. This can be one motion, correct? So, Charlie?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start with the special use permit that's before you this evening and then close with the lease terms. So this is Water Tower Number 1, which is adjacent to the Bakley Shopping Center, or at the rear of the Bakley Shopping Center. Previously, there was a Nextel antenna on it. The review before you tonight is for an AT&T wireless antenna. They're the sole tenant that's proposing to install on the tower at this time. They indicate the need is there for their telephone service, voice paging, messaging, wireless internet, and broadband data transmission to improve service for village residents in the surrounding area. The property itself is zoned B3. It's worth noting the village's consultant, Dixon Engineering, has reviewed the request and noted that if completed in accordance with the approved design, the antenna installation for AT&T will not affect Water Tower Number 1 with respect to OSHA, nor will it affect the existing antenna that are located on the tower for police and fire. Site plan, again, this is the rear of the shopping center. You see the water tower, the circle there, the existing shopping center shown there. There is an existing shelter on the property which will be utilized by AT&T, shown just to the northeast of the tower. They are also proposing to install a exterior generator to the west of that structure as well. That'll be enclosed by an 8-foot tall Trex composite fence to screen the generator. And again, the existing shed is already there and will be utilized as existing. Illustrations of the tower itself. You see what the antenna will look like at the top of the tower in the rendering. Fairly similar to what you see on other towers. Water Tower on West Main Street already has antenna on it. Again, very similar. Wires will be run internal to the tower, so you will not see those running up the side of the tower. And then you see the layout for the shed, or excuse me, the existing building on the property, as well as the layout for the generator to the west of it and the proposed fence that will surround it. Planning Commission reviewed the request on June 10th. They did recommend by a vote of 5 recommending approval. One commissioner did abstain from voting. Subject to 7 conditions of approval, they did recommend it. Those conditions of approval, fairly typical. I'll call out the 3 that are bold. That's being that all future tenants of the facility or co-location shall require a special use permit. Additionally, they would have to amend the lease as well. Condition 5, all cable shall be run internal to the water tower. There shall be no exposed wires installed upon the exterior of the water tower. And condition 6, all equipment and railings installed atop the water tower shall utilize industry standards for stealth architecture and structural design and shall be painted white to match the existing water tower structure. In terms of the proposed lease is with Singular Wireless, doing business as AT&T. The initial term is for 5 years and would automatically renew for 6 additional consecutive 5-year terms unless AT&T notifies the village of their intention not to renew the lease at least 60 days prior to the expiration of the term. AT&T shall pay the village a monthly rent of $3,250, equaling $39,000 a year. That will increase by 3% annually. The lease agreement further requires that AT&T shall be responsible for removing their equipment prior to expiration or termination of the lease and shall repair any damage resulting from the removal activities. And AT&T shall be responsible for restoring the premises to its original condition. That being said, there was extensive lease negotiations between the village attorney and their counsel. And then Planning Commission did subsequently conduct the public hearing for the special use permit as required. Which leads me to the action requested tonight. Is Village Board is requested by the petitioner for approval of the following individual resolutions and ordinance. The first being the resolution approving the option and structure lease agreement with Singular Wireless, doing business as AT&T. And then the second is the ordinance approving the special use permit for the wireless telecommunications service facility on Water Tower number 1. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Charlie. Any questions from the board?
And it goes up 3% every year. Beautiful.
No other comments, concerns? I'll look for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Benigno with the motion, Goldman with the second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Benigno.
Aye.
Trustee Goldman.
Yes.
Trustee Zadorowitz.
Yes.
Trustee Westberg.
Aye.
Trustee Pivko.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 8.4 is a resolution approving a recapture gifting agreement between FRS Development Company Incorporated and the Village of Huntley. Dave?
Thank you, Mayor. On September 26, 2013, the board approved the Reed Road recapture agreement with FRS Development. The agreement was for improvements made to the previously unaligned Reed Road Route 47 intersection to align both east and west of Route 47, producing a single intersection with a traffic signal and improvements to Reed Road, extending approximately 5,500 feet west of Route 47. These improvements replace the previously offset intersection of Route 47 and Reed Road. The roadway and intersection improvements provide access to future commercial properties located at the intersection of 47 and Reed, as well as access to Talmore and adjoining properties. FRS, via its president, Frank Satar, has expressed his interest in making a gift to the village of the contractual recapture rights it currently owns pursuant to the recapture agreement approved in 2013. The recapture fees are not payable by any of the benefited properties until the time of development. The term of the agreement is for 30 years, thus not expiring until 2043. By gifting the recapture right to the village, FRS would no longer have any claims to the fees. The original principal of the recapture amount was a little over 1.3 million based on our calculations today, with interest that is sitting at about 2.5 million. I will say this, and I've discussed this individually with the board. This has been a hindrance to development on that corner, so the ability for the village to control it, whatever ultimately the corporate authorities in place at the time of future development, may or may not want to collect all of this, but it does give us the right to do what the board ultimately decides is best. So the village attorney has reviewed the agreement, and we are saying it is all in order for village board consideration at this time, and would be happy to answer any questions.
I got one for you quick, Dave. So this is just for the gifting from Satar to us?
That's correct.
And then it would come back to whether we were gonna enforce that recapture.
That's correct.
At the time of development? Or
We
right
could do
away?
it, we could do it at a different time too.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is just for that, and then we can come back to.
That's correct.
Okay. Anybody got any questions? See none, I'll look for a motion.
So moved.
Trustee Pifko, trustee Zdrowitz at the second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Pivko,
Aye.
Trustee Benigno,
Aye.
Trustee Goldman,
Yes,
Trustee Zadorowitz,
Yes.
Trustee Westberg.
Aye.
Motion carries.
one of these.
Thank you. Village attorney's report.
No report, but happy to take any questions.
Any questions of council? Seeing none, village manager's report.
I have two items that I just want to, I shouldn't say items, two deaths that have impacted our family here over the course of the last month, and just want to talk to the board a little bit about them. The first is our utility superintendent, Steve Zonta, who passed away earlier this month. Steve had been with us since 2005. He started his career in West Chicago, only 49 years old, left his wife, Elizabeth. There's a celebration of Steve's life scheduled for August 2nd, but I just wanted to take a moment to recognize all that Steve did, and ultimately we will be coming up with a proper memorial that represents the time and effort that he put into our utility system. Steve was a guy that many of you probably didn't know, a guy behind the scenes that worked his butt off day in and day out. The leader, always one of my favorite leaders in the organization, was the guy that actually, on performance evaluations, didn't give all employees the highest marks and never was unfair, but was always the intent of making the department better, and he led by example. Steve was a hands-on guy, and if you look at all of our positions are important, but the production of our water and wastewater, particularly on the water side, I can't emphasize enough the loss operationally, but more importantly for his crew. It's a small crew, and I always, with the greatest amount of pride, told Steve that he did an incredible job. I always told him he was like a baseball umpire, a basketball referee. He did his job, but you never knew he was there. And it has been a great loss for our organization. We're working with Tim and Jason on ways to move forward. I just would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Steve's time. And again, we will be back with the appropriate memorial and recognizing Steve's 20 years commitment to our community. And obviously our heart goes out to his wife, Elizabeth, and the sudden tragic death that impacted her and Steve's family and our family here at the village. And then I just wanted to recognize, and I believe you all know, that Lisa's mother passed away earlier this week. So there will be a service tomorrow, which I think is in many ways special in that it would have been Lisa's parents' 70th wedding anniversary tomorrow. So we have a large group of employees that will be going down to the service. So I don't have anything else, but I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions, Dave? Thank you. Item 11, Village President's Report. Bike Huntley is August 4th. Our bike patrol officers lead our cyclists around Huntley. It's about 8.5 miles. Takes about an hour or so to do. So if there's more information on the village website, if you want to participate, sign up there. And as always, we've got the farmers market on Saturday. And next week is McHenry County Fair. So if you want to go up to Woodstock, I know there's quite a few Huntley kids that have some pigs in the pig barn and other 4-H projects, but just a little community awareness of what's going on. Other than that, I don't have much. So.
Is it August 6th then? It's before our meeting, so that would be the National Night Out.
Yes. Yep, so we got National Night Out on August 6th. Thank you for that reminder. Yeah, because the next meeting is the 8th, so that'd be that Tuesday.
Weather permitting.
Well, as always, old man time and Mother Nature can't control either one of them. Unfinished business. Anybody got any unfinished business? Seeing none, move on to new business. Any new business? Seeing none. Tonight we do have executive session. I'll need a motion to go into executive session for property acquisition, purchase, sale, or lease of real estate and appointment of discipline and removal of public officers.
So moved.
Second.
Yes. Trustee Pifko had the motion, correct?
Nope.
Nope,
Second.
Trustee Westberg had the motion. And trustee Pifko at the second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Westberg.
Aye.
Trustee Pifko.
Aye.
Trustee Benigno.
Aye.
Trustee Goldman.
Yes.
Trustee Zadorowitz.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right.